Right, you are never allowed to say that I, Simon Miller here at WhatCulture Wrestling, don't do anything for you, because after months, years, maybe even decades, not true, I just made that up, of people saying, Simon, why don't you do Impact ups and downs? Simon, why don't you do Impact ups and downs? Simon, damn you, damn your life, why don't you do Impact ups and downs? Well, here we are. Was it September the 9th, 2020? Whatever the hell the date is, it's arrived. So no more complaining. But yes, in a brand new venture, we are going to take the finger of power. The poor finger of power is going to be worn out by the end of 2020, and we are going to point it to the sky when things get an up, and we are going to point it to the ground where things get a down for the former TNA, now known as Impact Wrestling. And yes, sometimes the finger does go in the wrong direction, but what do you want from me? Let's up those downs. Wrestling. Even though we are reviewing a brand new show, it still started with our world champion coming out to the ring to cut a promo. I mean, this is just like breathing in oxygen. You need that, and you need this in your sports entertainment, although we're not allowed to call it that unless it's WWE. People really do get mad up. Obviously, Eric Young is the brand new Impact World Champion, and he was really proud of this and said as soon as he did return to the company, he knew that this was his destiny and he wasn't talking about the Activision game. And then, maybe not that surprisingly, he was interrupted by Alicia Edwards. She was mad because so far Young had not only hurt Rich Swann, but last week he had hurt her husband, Eddie Edwards, but it's all right because he knows how to come back from really bad situations, like that time he was able to return after he got smacked in the head with a bat. Remember that? That was pretty damn bad. Alicia went on to say that Eric Young had hurt her family, and do you know how Young responded to that? He just went, you know what? I don't care. That really made me laugh. He then went proper nuts because he was going to give her a power driver. Somebody calm this man down, when thankfully Tommy Dreamer ran out to make the save. And Tommy Dreamer still kicking ass at, well, I don't know how old he is, but 50-something, I would guess. He had a kendo stick, which meant Eric had to run away, and then Tommy got on the mic and quickly said, look, listen, Young, you absolute fool, you left this promotion, and when you did, there was two guys who helped continue it going, and that was Rich Swann and Eddie Edwards, and I'm so enraged, I'm going to use my influence with the company and get a match against you later on. I quite like that little nugget because it goes to show, oh, that's how it happened. Tommy Dreamer, being the veteran, the legend that he is going to go to management and say, look, do it, or I'll probably, smash your head open and make you bleed. Because crazy ECW guy. This was fine though, it got Eric over as a loon and set up a kind of interesting main event. We are away. We were then watching Moose still on the hunt for EC3 because of course EC3 has stolen his fake title thingamajig and he wants to get it back. And then Rosemary, Johnny Bravo and Taya Valkyrie were discussing the wedding they're going to have on Impact. And Rosemary was all like, oh, I'm going to resurrect James Mitchell to officiate the thing. And I was like, there it is. Who knew it was coming on this show of Impact? The darkest line of all of wrestling in this current year. And that is saying something. And then just to offer up an antithesis to that, we were getting Chris Bay versus TJP. And I thought it was a lovely little faboo of a match. X Division champion Rohit Raju also came out to watch this because I guess he just couldn't be bothered to view it in the back, and I can understand that. If you are a wrestler backstage and you're trying to watch a match on one of those monitors, you got to do it like an owl. You have to crank your neck so the camera can still see where you're standing. I mean, that's really gotta hurt. From there though, this was just great with counters and reversals and an idea that both guys had each other's number and therefore they were cancelling each other out. However, towards the end, it was Bay that seemed to get the advantage, and I think that was intentional. Because he went for a sunset flip, but TJP was able to use his momentum and turn it into the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and he stole the pin as Chris Bay was just like, man, I can't believe it. What a crappy damn having. And look, yes, much like AEW, I'm not going to pull down my pants and crap on Impact Wrestling for doing a surprise roll-up because they have to do it over and 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 over again before we start doing that. You see? I am a fair employer. I don't know what that meant. Surely TJP is now going to go on to challenge for the X Division title because that would make all the sense in the world. And yeah, this was just good, a very good TV match. It was time for the latest locker room talk next with Madison Rayne. I kind of find these segments just a little bit awkward. Down. Johnny Swinger was back and being as usual over the top self, but the main guests were Kylie Ray and Susie. And before we do get into this, I just want to say I love the super duper happy jolly Kylie Ray. She just brings sunshine into my life. Anyway, the whole point of this is that Reign thinks that Kylie Ray is deliberately trying to avoid the champion, Deonna Purrazzo, and it was quite clearly made out here that yes, 100% she is doing whatever she can to ignore the women's champion, Deonna Purrazzo. The champ and Kimberly then turned up and challenged Susie and Ray to a tag team match. Like, yeah, fine, we'll do that. And yeah, overall, this was fine. It did what it had to do. It's just a little bit long. And yeah, just a little bit weird. That kind of continued on too when Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz bumped into Johnny Bravo, who of course is still trying to sort out this stupid wedding, and these two are really annoyed because they're not invited. I'm just done with wrestling weddings. I've seen so many over the years, I don't feel like I need another. They brought up Taya and insinuated that Johnny is under her thumb and needs to start standing up for himself, and Impact is going to do something with this at some point because they have been teasing it for weeks. And that was that. Brian Myers was then in the ring, and a small piece of info if you so care. I've always liked him. I thought as Kurt Hawkins in WWE, he was never given his due, especially because he went on a losing streak gimmick and made that entertaining. So it's nice to actually see him being featured, not necessarily the top of the card, but as a serious wrestler. Fortunately, I didn't like it. Down. Because sadly, my ultimate takeaway was that I felt disappointed for Willie Mack, because these two have been going at it for a while. And here Brian Myers was all like, look, Willie Mack, you're not respecting me, I'm the veteran, let's just shake hands and be friends. And when he was like, I'm not going to do that, but what I am going to do is I am going to challenge you to a match right now, and after I've kicked your ass, you can look at me and give me the respect I deserve, because you think I'm just a stupid rookie. And they fought. And I had no real problem with Myers winning, especially because he whammed Mack right in the balls before giving him the DDT to get the victory. But he was in street clothes here, whereas Willie Mack was in his wrestling stuff. So the situation had been presented that Willie Mack was ready, and Brian Myers was like, oh no, I wasn't ready for this. And he still won. That kind of made Willie Mack look like a geek, and we should not be allowing Willie Mack to look like a geek. He's flipping brilliant. So it was just one of those things where I thought it could have been done a little bit better, but I'm sure ultimately he will get his revenge, and then I will be a happy bald asshole once more. Jordynne Grace interview next, and she is also super pissed off with Tenille Dashwood, who has just walked into Impact Wrestling and now expects to be able to have a title shot. So she went to the locker room to sort this out, as you would do. Instead, she found the returning Caleb Conley, who told her, look, Dashwood ain't here right now, but if you are interested, which I don't think Grace was, I am now her personal photographer. And then we saw all these photographs of Tenille, and I don't want to be that guy, but it was a little bit like the Emelina thing that WWE had done all that time ago. So I guess as long as it goes longer than an hour, it will have more depth than that. Hogan and Steelz were also still on at Johnny about this flipping wedding when, of course, Taya turned up and shut everybody down. And I was like, yeah, see, they are telling the truth. You do this. She made it very clear, though, that they're not allowed to come to the wedding, and the ultimate result was a match between Taya and Steelz. We're going to get it later, it was fine. The highlight of the night followed because we were getting the tag team champions, the Motor City Machine Guns, taking on the Rascals. And obviously the Rascals are such massive assholes, they actually attacked the Machine Guns during their entrance. But this was not much like the opening match, it was just a damn good TV match that made me happy and made me go, ooh-da-lally, tag team wrestling. Up. It's matches like this too that remind you how good Impact Wrestling's roster is, and we should probably be shouting about it more, which I guess is what we're doing right now. And Paul Wentz had his knee worked over so hard he needed some help. And Xavier did try and get in there to do this, but he wound up in the octopus stretch, and I was like, man, that is the worst save attempt I've ever seen in my life. Budget Batman. They still managed to get the upper hand, but they made a major mistake because Wentz forgot about his duff leg, and that allowed the Motor City Machine Guns to hit that ACSC rush thingy and this double driver move. I'm not quite aware of the names, but it looked badass. They got the pin, 1, 2, 3, and they're still your champions. And that was also good because it was a nice clean finish, although shenanigans were about to happen. Because not only were the North out here to wreck everyone, but so was Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Now, of course, we were like, oh no, we need another team out here to even the odds. And you know who this was gonna be. Who else could it be but the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson? So there was just a massive brawl before it ended with all four teams looking at each other. And if Impact wants to give me, I think Bound for Glory is the next pay-per-view. If you want to give me some kind of four-way tag team thing at that show, I will not be a sad man. In fact, I'll be quite happy. They're all so good. RVD and Katie Forbes then announced that on next week's edition of Impact, they are going to debut a brand new talk show known as The Whole Effing Talk Show. I'm gonna guess it's not for kids. Not surprisingly, my good old friend and secret enemy Sami Callihan then popped up, and he's doing his whole hacking thing. And given that he's not really getting on with Katie Forbes, he pretended that he wouldn't hack into this show. And I'm not a betting man, but I'm going to make a bet. I'm going to bet all of my hair and every single penny that I owe that actually when this thing does debut, he's going to hack into it and he's going to ruin it. I know, quite the hot take, but I'm pretty confident. Taya Valkyrie versus Tasha Steelz was next, with of course Hogan and Bravo being in their respective corners. And I'm pretty sure Taya would have had an easy time of this if it wasn't for Hogan, who kept getting involved. And I'm sure Johnny would have done as well, but he was on this phone sorting out this flipping wedding. Taya got upset about that, especially because her opponents were winding her up saying, look at this jabron, look at this moron on the outside, he doesn't care about you. But rather than let her drag it down, Valkyrie kind of used it as, muscle fuel, and she absolutely waylaid everybody. Kicked Tasha's ass and finished her off with the Road to Valhalla, which, by the way, is a very good finishing move. But again, this wedding just keeps getting in the way of everything, like a wasp smashing me in the face. And right now, and it could change, and I hope I am proven wrong, it's just not engaging me, and that's why this was a down. Steelz and Hogan jumped Taya afterwards before Bravo finally pulled his head out of his ass and made the save, and I can only assume that Taya is about to go face. I don't really know. I tell you what I do like though, nonsense with EC3 and Moose. This is the best kind of possible nonsense. Because after following EC3 to yet another mysterious location, the Moose bumped into his former football coach. They were like, hey buddy, lovely to see you. It's great, we're having a wonderful time. But that all quickly changed when he told Moose to control his narrative, and Moose recalled from this like he was in some kind of horror film. He then turned around, there was a bunch of dudes in hoodies that looked like EC3 and he had to build them up. He is having a very bad time, and EC3 is getting in his head. We then had a tease with Rhino and Heath, and these two idiots keep upsetting management, which is no good for Heath, because he needs money, because you remember, he's got kids. Rhino does have some kind of plan, though, and we're gonna find out what that is next week. I don't know, you tell me, maybe they're gonna rob some people, or just hold the entire roster hostage. That's all I can guess. It was then time for our main event, which was also an old school rules match, and when somebody says that and Tommy Dreamer is involved, it just means there's going to be a hell of a lot of weapons, and lo and behold, I was correct. The kendo stick was involved faster than at a Mysterio family barbecue, and then Tommy Dreamer got a chain and kind of started raking it into Eric Young's eyes. And I was like, oh, that must be another nod to Ray, because you know how he feels about his singular eyeball. After that, there was just like street signs and more chairs and some tables and some kitchen tools and utensils. I'm not gonna lie, when Impact does do this, obviously they don't have any fans, it does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable, because it's like I'm watching a mugging live. Tommy was also gonna finish this off by DVDing the champion onto a table, but he was like, no, I'm having none of that. Eric Young reversed it, he hit the power driver, and he got the 1, 2, 3, and of course that's what happened. He only won the belt last week. Imagine 7 days later, he lost to Tommy Dreamer. And that's no disrespect to Tommy Dreamer, but Eric Young should be going on to other things. And that's exactly what happened afterwards. Because like all wrestlers in 2020, Young then decided he was going to ruin Tommy Dreamer's ankle by getting the chair and locking it in and then stamping on it. But before he was able to do that, Rich Swann, who was still selling his injured leg, was down there with his crutch, and he was just hearing Eric Young like, get away, you're ruining my life. I like how that's not been forgotten and how it's taking a long ass time to heal, like reality. And after shouting at each other, Impact went off air. And that's a world title feud I can get behind, especially because you're going to have sympathy for Rich Swann going, oh my gosh, he's only just come back from this career-ending injury. I hope it doesn't get any worse. So yeah, there you go, the first review I think we've done on an Impact TV show. We've done pay-per-views before, but it's a brand new world, and I'm very excited about it. And overall, it's gonna get an up. It wasn't the best show I'd ever seen. It certainly wasn't the worst. It was just a nice way to continue on the stories that have started over the last, a few weeks, few months, you tell me, who even cares? I know, because I keep up to date, but in terms of ups, it's very, very difficult. Because now we have storylines on TV, but we don't have storylines here on Ups and Downs. All right, we'll get there eventually. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of Impact. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, then head over to WhatCulture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE, and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My sign from WhatCulture. Make sure you take care of yourselves, make sure you take care of each other, and I will see you very soon.